And across from our fifth graders, we have kindergartners from their very first year at PQ, their very first Fine Arts Night. So we're excited to welcome them here to PQ in their first art show. On top, you'll see these beautiful canvases of very famous Mo Willems characters. The students had such a blast creating their characters. Below, we looked at lines and how lines can be used to create landscapes. Zigzags can look like mountains, bumps can look like grass, wavy lines can look like water. In kindergarten, we learn a lot about lines. These lines were inspired by artist Gustav Klimt and our Tree of Life. We made lines in the background to show energy and movement in warm colors. And then on top of that, they created their own Tree of Life and added a little bling to really make it sparkle. Here we have some painted collage llamas. They use printmaking with paper towel rolls and fun lines to create the body that they wanted for their llama. Kindergartners had the great opportunity to meet with artist Peter H. Reynolds, so they created their own dot paintings with lots of different media and dots. Here students, this is one of their first projects where they learned about how to make their bodies and rainbow order. And finally, we have our love monsters. These love monsters show texture and feeling and are just simply adorable. Here we have clay by kindergarten students. They learned about what texture is and created texture within the clay, and then learned how to roll some simple lines to create the letter of their name. And here we have our fantastic first grade artists. We'll first look at these hearts that were made in the style of artist Alma Woodsy Thomas. Lots of bright colors, short strokes of paint, and added some markers in between. And here we have our monsters. These monsters show an emotion: glad, sad, happy, angry, silly. And they learned how to cut and collage. And they also learned how to cut two of the same thing or cut things that are symmetrical. Here we have our cute sleepy portraits. So what do students dream about? Some may dream about unicorns, some may dream of being a famous singer, being an ice skater, and they created their quilt with patterns. Here we have our paintings inspired by Henri Rousseau, and he was well known for his jungle animals. So they chose a jungle animal to paint and then added a tissue paper collage background. First grade worked on some texture in clay as well. Everyone had a great time exploring what that looks like in clay and then what happens when we glaze the clay. This is their first experience with glaze. And here is work by our second grade artists. Along the top, you'll see work that was inspired by artist Vincent van Gogh and his Starry Night. Then below that, we have some printmaking. The students had a great time painting papers, carving into styrofoam, and then printing their designs. Next, we have some beautiful Matisse collages. Students learned how to do some paper cutouts with all different freeform and geometric shapes. Here are some beautiful, beautiful still life flowers by the second grade students that were inspired by artist Heather Galler. So they really enjoyed making their vases and all their flowers nice and colorful, and added a little glitter in special places for that extra touch. Here's our beautiful third grade artwork. And we have Lewis Mayu Jones, and the children learned about her art style and did some different patterns in sections of work. We have Jean-Michel Basquiat, and they studied his works of art with, and they created their own characters and used words to describe their characters. Here we studied the art of Chinese vases. So they learned about symmetry and looked at some artists that create still lives and painted their own flowers. Now we move on to our gorgeous landscapes. We first read the poem by Robert Frost called Birches, and they created their own birch tree paintings using foregrounds, middle ground, and backgrounds. And finally, we have our Mexican mirrors, where we looked at radial symmetry and creating patterns within that radial symmetry. We also learned about all the different styles of art that you might find in a Mexican flea market. We'll start here with 4th grade. 4th grade has worked on scratch art, learning about texture, value, and putting it together into these amazing animals. They also created these I am stars to tell all about themselves and all the reasons that they're stars. They worked on patterns and how to make a star 3-dimensional. The bottom is our one word. So can the actions of one word lead to positive change? We read the book Change Sings by Amanda Gorman and thought about ways that our words have power and how we can use those words for good. And here we have our wall done by our fabulous 5th graders as they can finish their last year here at PQ, their final art show. We'll start with these Olympic monochromatic paintings. These were inspired by the recent Olympics that took place, and students worked on creating a painting using monochromatic colors. Next, we have these paintbrushes that were inspired by our artist, Jim Dine. Jim Dine was a pop artist who was known for using everyday items in pop culture and ones that were meaningful to him. So we chose to do some paintbrushes. Then we have our crazy hair. So our crazy hair was inspired by Medusa, and we discussed what it means to have good character from the inside out. And they created these crazy hair using lots of patterns and constructive expressive lines and the Zentangle patterns. Welcome to our PQ Bakery. You can look, but don't come hungry. We have donuts by 4th and 5th grade students. We have lots of sweet treat tiles by our 3rd graders and some yummy, yummy cupcakes by our 2nd graders. They all look just good enough to eat, but don't, for real.